making all of his own climbing tools, and he'd build them here while he could go surfing. And then he'd drive to Yosemite when the waves got bad, and then he would sell the climbing equipment while he was climbing in Yosemite. And then when he was too tired, he'd come back and he would make more climbing equipment here while the waves were good, and he would kind of split his time that way. So this is where it all kind of started. And he still goes in there sometimes and makes some stuff, and we go in there with him and stuff. It's really cool. The Child Care Center basically allows you to come in at 4 months and then all the way up until you go into elementary school. And then we also have an after-school program for a lot of the kids who do go to elementary school and stuff. They can still come back and be here after school. And all of that is supporting our employees who are parents to be able to be super focused on the work that we're doing here, but know that their children are being extremely well taken care of, and they're just right in the backyard. So we're like, when I had both my babies here, I'd be in meetings and then they would call me when it was time to come nurse, or if they were kind of sad and they just needed some time with me, and I would take a quick break and come down. The whole campus is like centered around children and the Child Care Center. Mighty. This is where we all eat during the day, and all the food that's made is organic wherever possible, and relationships with a bunch of like local farms, and they deliver a lot of our goods, and then we turn them into, there's always like a really big beautiful local salad bar, and then some type of meal, always with a vegan, usually with a gluten-free option. You know, we try to accommodate.
Again?
We have solar panels over the roof, over the parking spots, and those power all the electricity for the campus. So we're 100% pulling power from renewable energy.
Hi, I'm Dylan, and this is
Elsie.
and we're from the Santa Barbara Middle School Teen Press, and today I'm here with
Jenna Johnson.
Nice to meet you, Jenna.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so I have your first question, and we kind of switched on the order, so forgive us, it's a little bit wacky. Can you tell us?
Like wackier.
Yeah. Can you tell us about some aspects of Patagonia as a work environment, like the childcare system and how it operates, and what else makes Patagonia a good place to work?
Patagonia is a exceptional and pretty radically different place to work than a lot of conventional businesses, really intentionally. We believe very strongly that you build the best business when you surround people with a lot of support and infrastructure that allows them to thrive as human beings first and foremost. And so I often say that as a business, we don't want to be an obstacle in people's lives. We want to be a part of helping them to live a thriving life. And we all spend so much time at work that the ability to be able to live a really balanced, beautiful, thriving life allows our employees to show up to work fully committed, really passionate. And so childcare is one of those. Our entire campus is centered around our Child Care Center. And culturally, we really support moms and dads who have their children here on campus with us. There's times when the kid falls down and gets hurt, or just misses mom and dad, or maybe a baby is really young and needs to nurse. And so our employees are always welcome to take a break and go just to the next building over and go visit with their children. They also have lunch with their children often. And this helps because then our employees aren't yearning to get out the door as quickly as possible at the end of the day. They've had these interactions with their kids throughout the day. And so then at the end of the day, they go and pick them up, and then they all get to ride home together. Yeah. And it's this seamless blend of life and work that happens here. And we feel really strongly about many ways in which we support people, whether it's through that Child Care Center or other benefits that we give people in terms of family support, time off when needed. Some of our employees are certainly taking care of their mom or dad who's elderly and maybe needs some help too, or when they or a partner gets sick. And we're really generous in our benefit packages as well.
Yeah. And what are some other things like during the workday in the office that makes Patagonia more like a family?
It's a little bit of everything, I would say. But it definitely starts with the fact that the company was started by a family. And so from the very, very beginning, it was a family dynamic on campus. It was the Chouinard family, some of their friends who all came together, really passionate about doing the same work together. And in fact, that's how the Childcare Center got started, because Malinda and some of the other women were bringing their babies to campus and bringing them to their desk. And then eventually Malinda looked around and said, this isn't the best environment for the workers, and it's not the best environment for the children either, so let's start a child care center right here on campus. She was very ahead of her time. We were one of the first to think about that and think about the support systems. But we also have a cafe, and everyone sits outside at shared picnic tables, so we get lots of those moments together to talk about work if we want, but also just about life and share. And we also have happy hours on Thursday, in which we often will bring in speakers and have topics, and we all kind of hang outside and sometimes have a drink together and just share and really learn how to be empathetic to each other and be there to support each other, just like a family does for family members.
Thank you.
I'm gonna switch around and kind of touch on something you just mentioned, which is you've talked a lot about being inspired by women within the company, like Malinda Chouinard, as being role models. What did you learn from her?
There are some of the most incredible women. I would say there are some of the most incredible women in the world who have worked here at Patagonia. Malinda Chouinard is one of them. Chris Tompkins is another one of them, as well as just many of the women who are on our leadership team, in senior management, and throughout the organization. We have a really, really healthy gender mix here at Patagonia, and I think that helps us to feel balanced and like a family, like we were just talking about, in that we have a lot of women who feel very much, what do I want to say here? So the way that Patagonia is set up is very much about individual to individual, and not at all gender-based or any other stereotypes brought in. It's really about your passion and your dedication and your curiosity and your ability to problem solve. And so that creates a really beautiful dynamic in which, compared to other conventional organizations, women have been able to rise into leadership positions because they are seen so equally in the mix of the conversation, and they can bring to the table their own solutions and their own ideas.
Yeah, okay. No, yeah. So how you mentioned kind of like very equal gender roles here in Patagonia. What do you think are the biggest like factors that are giving it like this equal playing field and such like neutrality for both?
I would say it's a couple things. I think first and foremost, that's just fundamentally how it has always been. Yvonne, in particular, our founder, Yvonne Chouinard, has always been very clear that women can play a really outsized role in leadership and management. The ability to be able to like manage both a household and a budget and a business and be able to do all the things, he's always really respected. And therefore, from the very early days, there was a healthy balance of both men and women working inside the organization. And as we grew, that just continued. And so when you come here, you almost don't even think about it or don't even notice it, because it's so natural and so organic in the way that it's come together. But in addition to that, we now also have really strong support for fathers through paternity leave, but we have been very progressive about making sure that women especially have the support systems when they're pregnant, right after giving birth, when they then are like in that first year or so of nursing their child. Those are really, really important development phases that we have supported in all the ways that we've talked about with the infrastructure and the support systems that Patagonia has extremely been thoughtful about. And I believe really strongly that's why we have so many women here. The women who go out on maternity leave, 100% of them come back after maternity leave and return to the workforce, which is radically different than what most organizations find. At most organizations, women decide to stay home or work part-time instead of full-time. Here, we retain 100% of our mothers for the most part, so yeah.
Thank you.
So switching it up, but still keeping it kind of in the same vein. I understand that you have a love for rock climbing, competitive swimming, and all things outdoors. How has this inspired you to get where you are today?
You've done your homework. I grew up competitive swimming for most of my life and transitioned when I found rock climbing and have a real deep passion for outdoor recreation in general. I love hiking and camping and trail running, but I especially love rock climbing. Myself and my family, we spend a lot of time rock climbing and camping. It's allowed me to do a couple different things. The most translatable that I talk about often in terms of business from what I did in being competitive is a sense of being able to look at the long term and put in place a plan. When you're a competitor, it's a physical plan. How are you going to build up to get to where you need to be in order to be a really strong competitor? And through that, to settle and be at ease with the process. So especially when running a business, things are changing all the time. And so you set out a course, you set out a strategy of where you want to go and what you want to do. And then you have to be able to relax into the fluidness necessary of making new decisions, understanding new inputs that are coming in, and then helping to bring others along. So in a team sport like being on a swim team, you've got a whole team that you're working with in order to ultimately, as a team, be successful, not just individually. Rock climbing is a little bit more individual, but you're still working really strongly with a partner usually, somebody who's belaying you, one or two people who you're climbing a route with. And that ability to communicate clearly and concisely, to be able to stay calm even when you start to get really nervous or uncomfortable, those are really important skills when you move into a business in whatever role you're doing. But so I really continue to look back on those times when I felt nervous or uncomfortable. How did I calm myself, and how do I bring that into the moment here?
Yeah. How did you get involved with Patagonia, and where did you start here?
I got involved first and foremost in the outdoor industry. I was living up in Seattle with my husband, and I was a rock climber, so I kind of got into it naturally. I had gotten my undergraduate degree in business, international business to be specific, and I knew I was interested in business, but I wasn't sure what aspect. There was a lot of aspects of business that I wasn't very attracted to. But through the outdoor industry, I was surrounded by people who loved the same things that I love: being outdoors, having fun, being active. And so it was kind of natural for me to fall into that. And then my career developed, and Patagonia called me and asked me if I would be interested in talking to them about a product role running the climbing apparel collection. And so I started talking to them and was very interested in joining them and joining what they were doing. And so about 13 and a half years ago, I came here, first in through product, and then quickly felt like I had found my place. I really believe in what the Chouinards are trying to do with this business. And so decided to really give it my all, and I've been really fortunate to be supported and to be able to take on larger and larger teams, and now to be running all of the apparel and equipment business.
Thank you.
So a more kind of touching on Patagonia more. In September of 2022, the ownership of Patagonia changed dramatically. How did the message that Patagonia is in the business to save our home planet change that day? And what does this statement look like to you now?
That was such a exciting and in some ways scary transition for us. So before we changed our mission statement to what it is today, which is that we are in business to save our home planet, our mission statement was build the best product, do the least amount of harm, and use business to inspire others in the environmental crisis. And that was very easy to understand and easy to wrap your head around. That is still very much a part of our business today. It's in our B Corp charter laws. And so we are still held to those three principles really strongly. But when we changed our mission to say that we were in business to save the home planet, we became even more laser focused on the urgency that this moment required for us as a business to be louder, to be faster, to be stronger in our support of putting in place solutions that could very quickly turn this planet from what was and is a catastrophe for the climate into solutions that could hopefully help us heal and regenerate and get back to a place where you and the generations that come behind you can have a really healthy planet to be living on as we all move forward. And so we feel a deep, deep sense of responsibility and felt that that mission statement more accurately reflected what we carry in every single day when we come to work here.
Mm-hmm. And so what does, with all this in mind, like the new changes to Patagonia, what does a day in your life as the president look like for you?
There is not a day that gets repeated, so every day looks a little different. I focus a lot of my time on product because product sits at the heart of our business. We take product very, very, very seriously. So I spend a lot of time with our product teams, and what we're looking for are ways to solve problems for those who are going out into the outdoors in a way that no other brand has been able to adequately solve. We believe really strongly we don't want to just put more product into the world, that we want to be solving problems. We solve them in a lot of different ways. Sometimes they're functional solutions. So if you're climbing or you're skiing or you're running, there's a better performing product that we can offer you. And we're also looking for lesser and lesser impactful ways of being able to build product, which is really at the heart of what we're trying to do, which is to reduce the carbon footprint of the apparel industry, hopefully maybe even inspire others in different industries to figure out how we can make products that are needed in either a less impactful way or ideally, eventually, we will be in a positive direction so that we're actually building regenerative product, not product that is extractive and taking from the planet. And so we think about all of those things. We think about them as we build product. And then the other big, huge body of work that I do, a couple different bodies, but they intertwine, is the stories of how do we tell people about these things, and how do we bring people along so they can be a part of not only the work that we're doing, but whatever work is really meaningful in their local areas that they want to get involved with, all of which needs to happen in order to be able to have the impact that we want to have. So my day is kind of moving between different meetings and looking at product and trying to figure out how we tell the story and how we're going to bring it to life, and how we do that on the website, how we do that in our retail stores. All of that kind of gets woven together to paint the bigger picture.
Fashion is none of our business. What does that mean to you, and how does that kind of relate to Patagonia as a company?
This is our newest piece of storytelling that we've put out into the world, is this idea that that fashion truly is none of our business. And what we mean by that is that the principles that we hold most dear to us in building product all revolve around being timeless, being classic, being durable, being performance driven. And in this, you keep your product for a very long time. And then in addition to that, we have the largest repair facility in North America. And so we have set up a program in which if if you need to repair your garment, you can go get it repaired and then get it right back and keep wearing your garment for longer and longer and longer. And then at the end of its life, when you are done with it, you can turn it into worn wear, which is our resale program, and then somebody else can purchase it used and carry on the life of that product. And all that is to say that we are not in the business that many in the apparel industry are, which is about making inexpensive, cheap products that fall apart quickly and then end up in a landfill very quickly. That is the problem that is causing a lot of the situation that we're in at the moment. And then you just go buy new and buy new and buy new. We're very much in the business of buy once, buy good. We'll build it of high quality. You make the conscious decision to buy high quality, and then you keep it in play for as long as possible. So that campaign is really getting those essential values from the brand to the world.
And kind of like on the same topic as this, what advice would you give to other companies trying to be more sustainable while still making a profit?
This is great. I talk about this a lot. This is like a passion spot. So the biggest advice I can give is believe, stay committed to what you're trying to do, and then ask a lot of questions. So we are really interested in partnering with other businesses that are interested in figuring this out. And not every business is going to do this in the exact same way, but we say collaborating instead of competing. There are certain elements in which we will always compete against others in the industry on. Building purpose and positive impact on the planet into your business model is actually highly profitable often in the end, for multiple reasons. One, because you build with such deep intention, and two, because the world has woken up to the role of consumption and the power of purchasing high quality goods that are built with sustainability and environmental sensitivity. And so as the world is shifting, those businesses who also build this into their business models will be the businesses that will survive into the future. So it's a little bit of just grounding on the reality that we all need to be moving in this direction. In addition, we're seeing a lot of government regulations start to come down, and so companies will be forced into this. It's better for companies to figure out how to put their values forward and build a business around their own values and get there on their own than to be forced in many cases. Yeah.
Are there any businesses that you've changed, that Patagonia has changed for a better? And if so, how?
We work with a lot of companies, and I would say a lot of them have implemented a lot of our recommendations. One of the other things that I would say that we talk about a lot that has been fairly easy for others to pick up is this idea of like deep understanding of what happens within your supply chain. So investing in traceability and really understanding your metrics. Often when we run a business, we think we know, but especially when we start talking about carbon emissions, really breaking down scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3, and understanding what sits in each of those for you as a business and what you're able to control, and the things that you aren't able to control, how do you get in and influence? And that's where we often will either partner if we can or help give advice on how to move through that. I don't know that I would say there's like a particular company that I would call out, but we have a lot of collectives that we work within that are about that, like information sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. We've kind of we've kind of touched on a couple of them. We've kind of like it's been in the Venn diagram. They've overlapped. But we'll get to more like personal. This is more about you now. But on the same topic of like advice, what advice would you give yourself when you were our age?
Lean stronger into the things that I was passionate about and loved. Yeah. I think when you really believe in something, like what I've learned from being at Patagonia is how good it feels to work really hard, to try and sometimes fail, but know that I'm trying and sometimes failing in a direction that I really, really believe in, and to wake up every day knowing that I'm working for what I believe personally to be really important in this world is such a gift. And we can all do that in our ways. But I think I would have told myself, like, follow what your heart wants earlier, and you can make it happen.
How would that have changed, like, where you are now if you had taken that advice?
I think I would have gotten to Patagonia a couple of years earlier. I feel really grateful for all the experiences that I had, and I do feel like I followed my heart pretty early on because I followed the community, the outdoor community that I love, and I was surrounded by a lot of really great people. But I worked in businesses where, although I learned a lot, I didn't feel that passion every day when I walked in. And again, I learned a lot, it's fine, but I think if I had been here earlier, I would have had a couple more years to be influencing how businesses can add positive impact in this world.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
So on to our last question. If you could give us one homework assignment, what would it be?
Oh, I knew this question was going to come and I didn't prepare.
Well, best reactions are the ones where you're thinking of it on the spot.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, good. Homework assignment. It would be something about, like, pick a topic you care about and then write down 40 questions that you're curious about.
Wow, that's a good one. Okay.
Thank you.
That was off the top of my head. But I do think that, like, being passionate about something enough to ask a lot of questions helps you to really dig in and find, like, the important nuggets that are going to make you stand apart from somebody else in that particular topic, or figure out how to really solve a problem, not just at the surface level, but really deep into what the problem is. You have to ask a lot of questions to get in there, and so ask even more questions than you think you need to.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Turn anything off, just ask a lot of questions. Have any more questions?
Exactly. What else?
I mean, I still have another question, but we were kind of on personal, but I'll ask it. In one of your interviews, you said that Patagonia is a complex business. What are some aspects that makes it such a, like, complex and, like, I don't know what the other word is, but, like, really rooted, diverse, and, like, complex business?
That's a really good question, actually. That's great. So, Patagonia is one of the most complex businesses I have ever worked in and probably ever seen. Not because our structure is so complex, but because what we're doing is so complex. So, by nature, producing products has a pretty significant carbon footprint on this planet. And so we're trying to continue to make products, have the least impact possible, make it so that it's accessible to as many people as possible, which means keep the price. Although our products are expensive, we work real hard to keep the price down as low as possible. Ship them all around the world without having very much impact. Be profitable, which means we have to be highly competitive. We have to be doing it better than everybody else. All of those dynamics, many businesses pick one, and that's what they drive their business on. We have like 40 things that we care really deeply about, all of equal weight. And so we worry about our people here at headquarters and around the world headquarters. We worry about our people in the supply chain. We worry about the materials and the inputs that go into our product. We build product from recycled fishing nets these days, and recycled plastic, and regenerative organic cotton. We had to build a whole supply chain in order to do regenerative organic cotton. But we commit deeply. We say organic isn't good enough. We need regenerative organic cotton. There's no supply chain. Let's go find partners and build this supply chain. That's really complex. And then at the end of the day, you've got a team that's just simply like, okay, how do I take all these pieces and build the very best product? Because the customer who buys the product knows our values and cares about that, but they first and foremost have to have the product that's going to function and be really good for them. So we have to keep all of these different pieces together in balance.
It's like a little bit like a puzzle.
It's a lot like a puzzle. Yep. And every single, people ask me all the time, like, do you have a sustainability department? We don't have a sustainability department. Everybody has sustainability as a part of their job. So if you're an accountant, you're worried about making sure that the accounting statements are accurate, that you're thinking about our business and running a healthy business, and thinking about how you're funding sustainability all in that particular role. It's wild. Everybody here is holding all the different pieces that have to come together in order for us to be successful at the work that we're trying to do.
Thank you.
Patagonia as a company is the sustainability department.
Exactly.
You guys are paving the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my final question. This is more, we're like way circling back now, but what has been, I can't get the sentence out. That's what it is. It just doesn't sound right anymore. Okay, wait. What has being the president of Patagonia helped you do for the company and outside of it? Just in general.
Wow, these are good questions now. Yeah, we're getting into the good stuff. Being the president of Patagonia is probably one of the things I'm the most proud of in my life. It is such an honor to represent the work of this incredible employee group, both today and past. We've been in business for over 50 years, and it's been the collective of all the people who have come here that have allowed us to be the brand today that we are. And then because we have done such a good job at being relentless in our pursuit to show that business can be done different, we do get the opportunity to talk to people that other companies might not be able to talk to. We're listened to by people that other companies might not be listened to. We've been named the #1 trusted brand in America. This last year, we just were named again. And what's interesting is that you see people voting for us as the most trusted brand on both sides of the political aisle. So although we speak very, very, very passionately about the climate situation and about environmental movements and social justice, we hope to do it in a way that brings everybody into that conversation so that we are all different, we all have different points of view, but we can all agree to take care of this planet for the generations to come behind us and for the biodiversity that's absolutely critical on this planet. So I feel really lucky that we have an audience that's more diverse than a lot of other brands are. And then I've also had the opportunity to meet with Vice President Kamala Harris and ask her to support family support systems for a federal paid leave program. The ability in my role to be able to go to somebody at that level and ask them to support families all across America and basically say, I don't want this to be a competitive advantage of Patagonia. I want this to be a fundamental right of everybody who's out there working across America equally. Feels like I'm able through my work here to promote the things that I feel most passionately about personally also. And so the gift of being able to do those two things together is really amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll do a little add-on here. You mentioned a lot about having lots of, you appeal to both sides of the political spectrum. How do you manage to, engage both parts when we're at a time in our history where they're so separated?
Oh my gosh, you guys are in such good questions now. I love it. This is the fundamental... It's one of the fundamental things that we have to do, which is bring people together. This polarization is not serving us. And there's a lot of reasons why the polarization happens. We feel really strongly that the environment is not a political issue. This is a planet that all of us live on, all across the world. We all have people that we care about. Many of us have families with generations coming behind us. This is a shared place. This is a shared home that we all have. And when you can get people to break that down, then we can come together to actually make progress. And that's what's really, really critical. There will be no business, there will be no recreation on a dead planet, right? So we have to come together over this. And I think because we believe that so strongly, we let down all the other things that could get in the way of us and them and one side and another side. And we truly just look at everybody and say, we are all human beings. We all care about this planet. Let's take care of it together. And that we're going to need everybody in this in order to get to the place that we need to get to in time. So it's critical that we make that happen.
When you're answering these questions, I'm hearing you talk a lot about people and how that affects your brand. And one of the slogans at middle school is because of them, us, because of us, them. How do you think that relates? Because I feel like it relates to some of the things that you're talking about. How do you think it relates to the brand and bringing everyone together to try to help our home, to help Earth and like make it
Tell
more
me
of
more
a...
about that slogan for a second.
Well, it's the people that come before us make it possible for what we're doing today.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, the first team of Teen Press is making it possible so we can be here today and be talking to you.
And we're making it possible.
And we're making it possible for the next people to maybe interview some other people at Patagonia. How does this, because of the past, the future, help Patagonia become more of like, I don't know, more of the business it wants to be?
It's a really beautiful question. I think it does that in many ways, definitely from past generation to future generation, like what you're talking about. But I also think there's something beautiful in what you're saying, in that we get out of our selfishness and we think about those who gave us the opportunity before and those that we're passing on to. We think about this so much as we think about the role of consumption, like what I was talking about before. We may all love to go shopping often and buy new stuff, and it feels good, and you get this hit of dopamine, which we've been talking about a lot, and you get the package at your doorstep and you're like, yes! But at some point, we have to acknowledge the impact that all of that is having on the planet. You are spurring brands to keep making more and more stuff the more we give them dollars and tell them we want more. And so it's a really powerful and difficult reframing of behavior that all starts with having respect for those all around us today and those that are going to come behind us, so that our decisions aren't just about maximizing our own personal satisfaction and our own person in this moment, but that it's about the greater good for the rest of us. And if we all took that mentality, which you all are really embracing and going to go out into the world and hopefully help spread, what an incredible, beautiful place this would be, right? If we were all like thinking about each other in that way and thinking about those that are going to come behind us. So yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah. What do you think what's one way that we can all really embrace like that mentality and the regenerativeness that you're talking about?
I go back to questions. Once you've been educated, you can't close your eyes to it anymore. And so if you ask, where did this come from? Where did this food come from? Were there chemicals put on this food? What does it look like? What does the earth look like after they harvest? And you start to like dig in and ask questions, you start to change your behavior much faster and much quicker. And then the role of Patagonia, we talk often, is we don't have a marketing team, we have a storytelling team that's really trying to help take these ideas and bring them out into the world so that others can digest and learn along the way. everyone's at a different point in their journey of learning about sustainability, about environmental issues, about kindness. But through hopefully storytelling that's inspiring and compelling, you can start to actually shift somebody and move them to shift their behavior patterns so that they are kinder, they look out for each other, and hopefully they consume differently when they're looking at products to purchase.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think that's all the questions we got.
Out.
Yeah.
That was great. Those were really good questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I wasn't even prepared for the one I knew was going to come.
No, you answered it wonderfully.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.